This is a review of using function notation. On the left-hand side, we have the equation y equals 4x minus 3. Two questions with this equation. Number one, find y when x equals negative 2, and the second, find x when y equals 9. So, the first example, we're obviously going to be putting negative 2 in wherever we see x. So when we rewrite the equation, we get y equals 4 times the x value, negative 2, minus 3. When we simplify this, we get y equals negative 8 minus 3, and negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. So y is negative 11 when x is negative 2. I always like to remind you that that means that we have an input of negative 2, which has a corresponding output of 11 in this equation. The second example, find x when y equals 9. This time, it means we're putting 9 in wherever we see y. So again, the equation will start off now. This equation, y equals 4x minus 3, we're going to put a 9 in for y. This time, we're going to solve for x. Now, instead of just simplifying like we did in the first part, we are solving for x in the proper method. So we're going to add 3 to each side of the equation to get 4x alone right here, because negative 3 and positive 3 are 0. And then over here we have 9 plus 3, which is 12. And we're going to divide both sides by 4. And we end up with x, because 4 divided by 4 is 1, equals 3. So in this function again, or equation, it means that when x is 3, the y value is 9. Now what I want to show you is that on the right-hand side, we have function notation. So we have f of x equals 4x minus 3, which means that we're going to use pretty much the same equation here. As you can tell, we've got 4x minus 3 right here, and we have 4x minus 3 right here. The only thing we've changed is that we've got f of x here. And remember that y is equal to f of x. Y and f of x are the same, because y is a function of x. So, keeping that in mind, the best thing I can suggest to you when using function notation is to actually write the function for every single problem you do. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change my pen a second. First thing I'm going to do is rewrite the function f of x equals 4x minus 3. Okay, we are trying to find f of negative 2. So I'm going to just write f of negative 2 right underneath this. That's what we're trying to find. We want to know what it equals. Well, notice, this is exactly what you need to see here, is that x has been replaced with negative 2. If x has been replaced with negative 2, that means x equals negative 2. So we're going to put, again, negative 2 in anywhere we see an x. So we've got this 4, and now here's that x, so we're going to put a negative 2 in, minus 3. So we know that f of negative 2, because we're putting negative 2 in, equals 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8, minus 3. And f of negative 2 is negative 11. I want to point out here that this right here and this right here are the same. F of negative 2 equals negative 11, or y equals negative 11 when x is negative 2. Okay, now the next one we're going to do here, find x when f of x equals 9. Again, this is huge to remember to see this right here. We're trying to find x. Don't put 9 in for x. We're trying to find x. So I'm going to start, like I mentioned, every time you have function notation, if I were you, I would write the function. So back from way up here, we're going to write f of x equals 4x minus 3. And then I'm going to say, all right, in this problem we see here that f of x equals 9. So f of x, the whole thing, and 9 are equal to each other. So we're going to, instead of putting 9 in for x, because we're trying to find x, we're going to put 9 in for f of x. So right here where we see f of x, we're going to put a 9. There's no more f there. Okay, f of x has been replaced with 9. So then we have f of x, which is 9. 9 equals 4x minus 3. And now we are going to solve this equation. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 9 plus 3 is 12 equals 4x. The negative 3 and the positive 3 adds up to 0. And then we're going to divide by 4. And we end up with 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we end up with x equals 12 divided by 4, which we know is 3. Again, I want to point out to you that this answer here is the same as this answer over here, x equals 3. So when we know that x equals negative 2, that's the same as saying what is f of negative 2. And down here, when we know y equals 9, that is the same as saying f of x equals 9.